are at home with Jim and Joy, and we always tell you this, and we mean it from the bottom of our hearts, that you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you. So give us a jingle during this live broadcast at 1-800-221-9460. You can always call us outside North America and reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Today we have a wonderful guest on our show, Mr. Nick Silverio, who is a business owner turned pro-life activist. And his name is Nick Silverio. He's the founder of the Gloria M. Silverio Foundation. His great website called ASafeHavenForNewborns.com. A safe haven for newborns.com. And I'm excited about having him on our show today.
Yes, and as we were thinking about Nick's incredible work, A Safe Haven for Newborns.com. I mean, this is a work of, he'll share it, I don't want to steal his vision, but about rescuing babies at risk of death through abandonment. Babies being abandoned. And we're in the same line of work with a pregnancy medical center, and we're seeing girls at risk of having abortions. He's dealing with, you know, after the fact of a birth, a girl for whatever reason, panicking, disillusioned, whatever it is, thinking about abandoning her baby. And I was thinking about our ministry at Her Choice Birmingham Women's Center and our counseling of women in crisis pregnancy and listening to their stories, their disillusionment and whatever's going on, and loving them as our counselors do and the good people do who support our work. And so we listen and we try to land the plane of life where it needs to be landed. They get to see ultrasound of that little baby, come back for more counseling. We invite them into the community, the family of Her Choice Birmingham Women's Center. All the resources necessary to have that baby are offered. But in about 20% of those situations, these women still think they want an abortion. That's very, very difficult because we've really connected with that lady. We've connected with the preborn child, who now is not just a statistic. This is a real person that we've seen on ultrasound and looking at their picture. And if they still want an abortion, of course, we don't assist with that, but we will call them, ask them how we can help them, please change your mind and whatever. But we place the images of those babies that have been, the images have been taken through ultrasound. I call them portraits. And we place them in a little basket. It's called the Moses basket because remember the story of Moses, that the Hebrew midwives were supposed to kill the Hebrew boys. The girls lived but kill the boys. And the Hebrew midwives weren't doing that. They said, well, these Hebrew women are vigorous and they're having the babies before we come. And so Moses was one of those babies that was spared. And I think he was about 3 months old, and his mother placed him in this basket or in this little ark with tar and pitch so that it would float, placed him in the Nile by the bulrushes there, I guess. And of course, Moses' sister goes out to see what was going to happen. That's Miriam, I would think. And so then the daughter of Pharaoh, I guess it is, you know, sees one of these babies. This is one of those Hebrew babies. And so the sister comes out, well, would you like one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby, and so on, you know, the story. But the basket, Moses, who was destined for death to be killed, was placed in a place of refuge, a safe haven in the basket in that water, and was spared. We place these babies whose moms have said, I believe I still want an abortion there, and we place them before the altar, because we have an altar, we have a chapel, we have a tabernacle with the real presence of Jesus, place them before Our Lady, and we say, we place them in this basket, Lord, please, please intervene, please save them. You know, the moms they don't understand what they're doing. Forgive them, they don't know what they're doing, we pray. And that's what Nick is doing. You know, that's what these safe havens are doing all over the country, but his ministry in particular, A Safe Haven for Newborns, is doing. That he's offering a place, he's offering a basket, he's offering, place them in the waters of life, not the waters of death, and that they would be rescued.
It is so beautiful, and we have that basket and we put the picture, and sometimes if we didn't do an ultrasound of the client and we know that the mother is abortion minded, we put her client number and her name on the basket. For us as counselors and advocates for life with the clients, that's our last thing that we could do. We have to give it back to the Lord, because there's nothing more else we can do except pray and give it over to Jesus. And we possess at the center the only picture of that baby here on earth that exists.
Well,
so it's a beautiful, beautiful
It's going to be
work.
a powerful show today with Nick Silverio. He's a great personality, a safe haven for newborns.com. This is all a part of the pro-life movement, which didn't begin in 1973. It began back with our Jewish roots and in Jesus Christ, who is an embryo, a fetus, and now reigns as Lord. And whether it's babies in the womb or newly born, there has been for ages abortion, infanticide, the taking of human life in various forms, and there's always been Christian people there to stand up for life and say, there's a safe haven for you. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Well, you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we would love to hear from you during this live show today. So if you have a question for our guest, Nick Silverio, just give us a jingle during the live broadcast at 1-800-221-9460. If you're calling us outside of North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we'll use your great question or your wise comment right here on the air. Well, today we bring to you a good Italian man named Nick Silverio, and he's the founder of Gloria M. Silverio Foundation. He also runs an unbelievable ministry called A Safe Haven for Newborns.com. And you could go to his website there if you want to send him an email. It's safehaven@safehavenfornewborns.com, and there's a great helpline. If you're a young mom out there and you're pregnant and you don't know what to do, you don't know if you could care for this baby, and you're thinking, maybe this is something I need to do, call them and they can help you.
Got a helpline.
Got a helpline.
877-767-2229, 877-767-2229. They can get you the help that you need.
Well, Nick, we want to welcome you to At Home with Jim and Joy, and we're delighted to have you.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for allowing me to share a mission.
Well, it's close to our hearts, and we're excited. So what we want to do first is have you tell our family at home a little bit about Nick Silverio, where you came from, how you were minding your own business, and then you got pulled into this great pro-life work.
Okay. Well, I had an IT business. And Gloria and I were married because of the IT business, and we were married for 32 years, and we didn't have any children. We had 2 miscarriages in our marriage, one on a Christmas Eve, but we nurtured all the nieces and nephews in our family, and we were godchildren to 14 godchildren. And also, beside that, before that, I am a knight, a fourth degree Knight of Columbus, and I'm also a St. Lazarus of Jerusalem Knight of the Order. I wanted to say that. So Gloria and I, we had a wonderful life together, and one morning I kissed her goodbye, and 2 hours later I received a call from the trauma center at the hospital that she'd been involved in a car accident. They said it was very serious. So I immediately went there, and she was on life support. But I didn't know that at the time. So the first person I called was my priest, and then I called my father. My father lived about 4 hours away. So I waited for him to come, and the trauma center individual said, you know, she's on life support. We would like you to make a decision to release her from life support because we need her room. And I said, I'm not doing that until my father comes. So when my father came and my priest was still there, we prayed. And as we were praying, I heard Gloria say, I'm okay, honey. I'm okay. And that was the message to me that we could release release her from life support. And she was gone 5 minutes later. So not we were friends, we were lovers, we were partners, we were everything. And so I was lost basically. And one night I was at home in the middle of the night. I was flipping through a magazine, not paying any attention to what I wasn't reading. My fingers were busy. And my finger stopped on a page. And I was compelled to look. The lights were dim. I was compelled to look. And it was about infant abandonment in the United States. And I believe at that moment, that was a message from God to me that that's what I should be doing for the rest of my life. So I went to the office the next day. We had an IT business still. Went to the office the next day, and I said to the people that work for me, I know what we're going to do. And they said, what? We're going to save babies from being abandoned. How are we going to do that? I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Wow.
And that was 265 babies ago.
Nick, how long was it from Gloria's passing to the time you read that article? I'm just wondering how many years had transpired. You read the article about infant abandonment and then just had this sense that this is where you needed to be.
It was about 11 months.
11 months?
Yeah, 11 months.
Okay.
11 months.
And you had no real background in this area at all?
No background whatsoever. We'd never created a charity, always contributed to charities, but never created one. And I had a business background, but I used my background to be able to create the foundation. And we had a lot of contacts, and we created an advisory board, and we started doing outreach. And by doing all of that, we started to grow. We started to advance. We started saving babies pretty much right off the bat.
What year is this that you're speaking about?
2001.
Around 2001. So you read this article about infant abandonment. What was going on in our country around that time? A lot has transpired since then regarding infant abandonment, safe places, and so on. Put that in context. What was the state of the union regarding addressing this, or was it addressing it at all in 2001?
They weren't addressing it at all. The babies were being abandoned, not only in the United States, but also around the world. And the predominant places where babies were left in unsafe places, or they were placed in dumpsters. Quite often we were hearing that.
And what were you hearing about, what was the reason why mothers were abandoning their babies?
That's a good point. They're abandoning their babies because they were hiding their pregnancy, they had no support, no resources, and at the last minute, they made that decision to leave the baby in an unsafe place, very often not surviving. Very, very often. Right. And that all stems from the lack of a family unit, basically. Okay.
So we're talking about 2001, you're in Florida, you're reading this article. What did you find out? Because there's many safe haven laws now. That's not the ministry. It's called Safe Haven Laws throughout the 50 states. What was it in Florida at that time? Were you aware of it?
But there weren't any other laws.
Okay.
There was only one other law at that time, and that was in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had no blueprint to work from. We just wanted to save babies. How do you do that? We know awareness was a crucial element to it, and we know partnering with organizations, that was another thing that we needed to do. And by doing both of those things, we started expanding the knowledge and the awareness of the program, and we started getting participation and support from the fire departments and from the hospitals and crisis pregnancy centers. We've developed a lot of collateral materials that we distribute constantly throughout the state. And all of the crisis pregnancy centers in the state of Florida have our materials.
Okay.
So what did the Safe Haven law become that is in all the 50 states now?
Well, it's different in every state. But in Florida, basically what it is if a mother does not want to, first of all, we try to help the mom keep her child. That's the first thing. We try to get her help in the community where she lives, and if we can get her help, quite often she keeps her child. But if she wishes to utilize the Safe Haven program, there are two options there. She can use a Safe Haven program and place her baby with Safe Haven, or she can place her baby directly for adoption. The option of placing a baby with Safe Haven is that she remains anonymous, and that's why she wanted to use that program in the first place. We encourage her to have the baby at the hospital, always, And that's happening more times now than ever before. And once she has the baby, she remains confidential. In Florida, she can leave a baby place the baby with a safe haven 7 days old or less. No questions asked, totally anonymous. And then the baby's placed for adoption. And the mom has 30 days to reclaim the child if she changes her mind. And we've helped 5 moms get their babies back.
Yeah. Because, you know, you're in that panic moment, you're scared, you're alone, you know, and then maybe when you get your head above water, you think, wait a minute, I think I could do this. But then still she'll need support, right?
Still need support, right? And we always try to get them counseling, always. We had a situation one time where this mom called us. She was undocumented, no job, no prenatal care, and where she was living, she was told that she couldn't stay there any longer. So she had more than 3 strikes against her.
Right.
So we got her facility to stay at a motel by the Archdiocese of Miami, and we got her the prenatal care and so forth. And we paid for her cell phone because that was the only means of transportation. And every week I would go and I would pay for her time to stay there. And then as time went by, one night I get home from the office at 9 o'clock, and I receive a call from her, and she says, my water just broke. And I said, okay, I'll call 911. She said, no, don't call 911, because she was afraid about the you know, her immigration situation. But I told her that that's not going to be an issue.
Right.
Please don't call them. Come and get me. So I got in the car and I drove there, and I called her about 5 or 6 times and to check on her, and everything was okay. If it wasn't, I was going to call 911 anyway.
Yeah.
So as I'm driving, I said, dear Lord, you gave me the biggest challenge of my life with Gloria. Please don't give me this challenge to deliver this baby on the job.
You don't want to become Dr. Silverio on the fly as fast as you can.
And he listened. So we were able to get her to the hospital, and she had the baby there, and we got her counseling as well. And that baby was placed for adoption.
Yeah. You know, we...
And she still calls me every 6 or 7 weeks.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Huge
Yeah.
in our life.
Because what you did was you threw her a lifeline at a time in her life when she was scared, confused, alone, especially being illegal. You know, and she's afraid of the government. She's afraid of hospitals,
Exactly.
and you know, and we encounter that too at our center. And so you have to establish trust, and you obviously did that so well with her that now, at this side of it, she even calls you because she knows she has a friend in you.
Right.
Yeah.
Nick, you know, I was sharing with you before the show that for many years now I've been walking and jogging, and so now I walk and I jog a little bit. But some years back, in the places where I walked, I know that I walked past 2 dumpsters over the years, and both of them had dead babies in them, or maybe they were alive when they were placed in them. And I didn't know, and then I heard in the news, I said, oh my gosh, that's right where I walk. That's where I jog. But that was a number of years back, and I think it would be maybe even before 2001. This is still a terrible, unthinkable problem, but I think that it's grown less. Because when I had this experience and we heard of this, I didn't know if we even had a safe haven law then, you know, like in Birmingham. And then, like you said, even if you have that law in the 50 states, are people even aware of the law? And I was going to ask you about how you made people aware of it. We have somebody on the phone, though, Joy. Let's take this call and we'll get back to that.
We have Dina on the phone. Dina, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment for Nick?
Oh, God bless you guys. My name is Dina. I'm from Nevada. And I was just wondering, I have had an abortion myself, and it's very devastating for all people. How would I start here in this rural area in Nevada a safe haven for children or a pregnancy crisis center? I pray, but I feel this call you've got to do, Dina. You've got to do.
Well, Dina, thank you for your sharing with us, and we pray the Lord's embrace upon your little one. I don't know your story. You want to make sure that you have really shared and have received all the healing that you could possibly receive through a group like Project Rachel or Rachel's Vineyard. Make sure, you may have done all this already, make sure you shared with your own priest or pastor about your situation so that you could be as healed as you possibly can be. There's a website called Option Line. You can go to the web and just look up Option Line. And that would list all of the pregnancy medical centers in your state and in every state. If you put in your zip code, you can find out about a pregnancy medical center or crisis pregnancy center. Because there's no need really to start one if there is one. So you might want to get to know those people there and become friends, with them there. There's also Heartbeat International for those that want to start.
We're a member of them.
Pregnancy medical.
Yeah.
You're a member of Heartbeat International, and they can help you to start one. But first, you want to find out what's in my community. Am I in the place where I need to be? In terms of my own healing and readiness for this. But in terms of, go ahead.
Yeah, Dina, what you could do is if you email me with your contact information, I'll get back with you, and we can see how we can make that happen in Nevada. We've made it happen in the states of Kansas and Missouri. Very effective programs there, and we just launched the Safe Haven for Newborns program in the country of Panama.
Right. I think the thing that has been helpful for me to understand, because we speak about safe haven laws, which are in like all 50 states, then you're a safe haven for newborns. Well, there isn't a safe haven for newborns in every state. There might be something like you. And what I'm saying is, even if you have a safe haven law that's rescuing babies, it doesn't mean that you have all the elements that you have.
Correct.
As a safe haven for newborns. So there is a place. Even if you have a safe haven law, it doesn't mean you have a safe haven for newborns that gets into this really establishing relationship and family and networking and so on. So it isn't one and the same, and so I think that is important. What states are you in with a safe haven for newborns? Florida,
Kansas,
obviously.
Kansas, Florida, Kansas and Missouri, country of Panama, and we're talking to some other states right now, some other southern states.
So how do you get your word out to the community at large, where you want to say to girls who are pregnant, young teens usually, or sometimes illegal, right? And they're scared and they don't know what to do. How do you get the word out that you exist?
Good question. We have billboards throughout the state of Florida, and that's one. We do great social media promotions, which is another. That's constant. We have collateral materials that we provide to all of the crisis pregnancy centers, the clinics, the youth detention centers, sometimes schools. We give presentations at schools. We have we attend all the health fairs that we can in the different communities. So all of that, it's just outreach.
And that's what I was alluding to before the question, was that at this time where the babies were in the dumpsters, where I walk and where I jog, and there was a lot on TV about this, just in terms about abandonment, not about help. And then I think it was around that time we must have passed the safe haven law, in our state. But even if you have a safe haven law, it doesn't mean that necessarily the government is going to publicize it enough. And that's where you come in with a whole organization that says, you know what, we're not the government, we're working in union with the government, but yet we're independent of the government, and we're doing this because we have a heart. We're trying to raise money. We're trying to get this out. And you're going everywhere because you could pass a law, and that's it. Once a year, you might hear about it.
We believe we're the prime example of the private sector taking the lead and working with the government, not the other way around.
Right.
And that's
because
what we do.
let's just say there is no safe haven for newborns in your state, and then you are in a crisis pregnancy and you're a 16-year-old girl. Let's paint this scenario, and she hides the pregnancy and she births the baby. And then she takes the baby to a fire station, or she takes the baby, then if the fire station, then they take that baby to the hospital, right?
If they know about it.
If they know about it. And then what would they do at the hospital? Then do they call an adoption agency? What do they do?
Well, that's how it happens in Florida.
Yes.
That's how it happens in Florida. Let's say Nevada, example. I'm not sure I know what should happen there, but I'm not sure that would happen. That's why we need to promote the program in every which way we can.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's take a pause right here, speaking about a safe haven for newborns, safehavenfornewborns.com. We want to hear from you. Please don't go away. Plenty more to come. We'll be right back.
remember that we want you to be a part of this show. So if you have a question today for Nick, you can just give us a jingle right during the live broadcast at 1-800-221-9460. If you're calling us outside of North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and hopefully we'll use your question right here on the air, and you can have your very own conversation with Nick.
Well, Nick, this is a lot like our work in the Pregnancy Medical Center and the whole pro-life, pro-choice issue. It really is more than statistics. You know, abandonment is the name, or abortion's the name, but it's really faces.
Right.
And it's really people. It's that woman, you know, that comes to us. A lot of people don't understand how disillusioned you can get, how abandoned that person is, that she feels like she can abort or she can abandon. But share with us some of the faces, especially of the children that have been rescued from abandonment. I saw on your website this one young guy, Chris, and read a little bit about his story, and he really seems like quite a character, but we may have missed his face if you and your great apostolate had not been there. But tell us about some of these people.
His name is Christopher, and he's 14 years old, and he was left with me. And every birthday we send him a gift, and we've seen him grow emotionally and spiritually and physically. It's just amazing. And we have a celebration every year, a celebration of life. It's a dinner. And he comes every year, and so does Gloria Hope, which I'll explain in a minute.
Okay.
So he gets up and he speaks, and he says, my name is Christopher. Does everybody remember me? I wanted to be an astronaut, but I've changed my mind. I now want to be a plastic surgeon. So all the women here remember my name.
That's great.
Sweet.
That's beautiful.
And then Gloria Hope, her mother called. Gloria Hope's mother had Gloria Hope, and she was a 19-year-old college student. She wasn't able to keep her. She was from out of state, and she needed help. So we provided all the help and we provided all the options that she could utilize, and she wanted to leave her place her baby with the fire department. So we located the fire department for her, and we told her where it was, and we asked her if she needed help getting there, and she said no. And we called the fire department to tell them she was on her way.
Right.
So she was walking up to the door and crying, and she rang the doorbell, and she told the fireman, "Please take care of her. I can't." And the fire person said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yes, it's the only way." So 2 days later, we received a call from her again, and she wanted to thank our helpline, but more importantly, she had 2 letters that she wanted us to give to the adoptive parents, one to them and one to Gloria Hope. And the gist of the letter to Gloria Hope was, "You didn't think I loved you all these years, but I did. That's the reason I gave you up, because I didn't have a future, and I wanted you to have one." And she comes to our gala. She's a intelligent girl, just a beautiful, beautiful soul. Beautiful.
She calls you Uncle Nick?
Yes.
I remember reading that. Okay. Well, you've got so many, and this is the humanity of the whole thing. Like, these are real. Share some about the women. You know, the women themselves, and maybe. We gave out the number. That's a number in particular for Florida, but everybody can call it. You've got a number from throughout the country. Who's taking these calls, or is your phone going to ring while we're here, or you got other people to help you, or what? And like, what happens when these people call? I know when we get calls from girls thinking about abortion, it's a lot, you know, and you have to know how to answer that call and how to speak and so on. What happens when a girl calls? What actually happens? Who's getting that call? What takes place? What's being shared? What's the hope?
Well, you listen to what they have to say, okay, and that's what you do. You don't offer advice. You don't offer counseling at all, because you have no idea what they're saying is what they really are going through. So and you establish a rapport with them, so they understand that you are listening, and you can give them options. And the first option is counseling, and we'll do it confidentially. And very often we have the calls from the moment that they find out they're pregnant all the way through delivering the child. So that's a long period of time.
Yeah.
We've had it to where a mom, received a call from a mom. She was a college student. This was in the Tampa area, and she said, I'm pregnant. When are you due? Any day. So we need to get you to the hospital now. So we got her to the hospital that afternoon. She had the baby that night.
Right.
Okay, and she placed the baby, in the Safe Haven program. We've received calls from women that were going to give their babies up, okay, and after we've talked to them, give them up with an abortion. And after we talked with them, they decided to keep the child.
To choose life, yeah.
So it's listening, it's being open,
right?
You know, and there's no formula to it. It's just you have to have the feeling.
It's called love, availability, and being an ear. You know, the other day we had an incident. One of our previous clients called us, and she was having a bad mom morning. I mean, those happen. And our counselor heard the baby screaming and crying in the background. She had a couple of kids, and she called, and her deal was, can I place my baby up for adoption? Like, you know, give me a number. And so we could have just gave her a number.
Right.
We said, no, can you get in here? We want to talk to you. So she came in and we took care of her. She had some physical needs that she needed for the baby. She was just having a come apart, a really bad morning. So she was able to come in. We were able to give her food, take care of her, give her all the resources that she needed to kind of buoy her up, you know, to say, I know this is how you feel, but this isn't really what you want to do,
right.
you know, and that's how we have to be.
Exactly,
right?
exactly that. And we never give them a number to call. We'll make the call for them. We'll make the connection. And when they get the same person on the line, it's not a new person.
Right.
That's the key as well, because they don't have to explain themselves all over again.
Right.
We make sure it works that way. So, because we share names for our first names. We never call them back unless they ask us to do it. We never share their information with anybody ever. And if we connect them to some service in the community, we ask them first, and then we allow them to make the call.
Right.
Yeah. You know, there might be some people thinking, maybe it would be a rare case, but it's like, well, people just don't, you know, want these babies and they just don't care, and so they're just kind of getting rid of them, or they're using you or whatever, versus their own sense of abandonment, disillusionment, fear, you know, and aloneness. Is that what you're finding with them? Because it's the same. When the girls come to us, it's horrendous, this thought of abandoning a baby. Likewise, abortion. It's like, how could people possibly think this or this? But when you start interacting with them, and you think about our society and our culture, you think about the breakdown of the family, you think about with all the means of communication, nobody's really communicating and can't really share with somebody to say, I'm having this crazy thought.
Exactly.
And nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to talk to you, or it just blows you off with it or something. And finally, somebody's there that you can call and says, we just want to listen to you. Just tell us what's going on. You know, we're here for you. How can we help? You know, what's happening? That's what you do, and that isn't like, you don't have to go away to school and learn that.
No, you don't.
That's called family. It's called about.
It is. Yeah, it is. And the thing is, when they do that, basically, we think it's when they place their baby, when they give their baby up, basically. We think that's courageous, and we think it's done with a lot of love, because they could do the other thing as well, and that is abandon their baby and not even think about it. And they've thought about it. They want that child to have a future that they can't provide. Quite often, that's what we hear.
Yeah.
Well, we have an email, and it says this: do mothers ever reach out to you before the birth of their child to make arrangements to have their child adopted? And this is from Stephanie from San Fernando, California.
Yes, they certainly do, and we accommodate them every time they do that.
Right.
Yes.
So you work with a particular agency? Do you work with a particular lawyer? How does that work itself out?
No, we don't work with a particular one. There's a series of adoption agencies, and we'll do it on a rotating basis.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, that question about what's happening prior to or right at the point of birthing a child. I mean, it sounds to me like your hope is not so much even that they bring the baby to a safe place as, can we even have a conversation before you do anything? You know, to think
that's
about.
Quite often.
Yeah, and that's important, because I think some people might say, well, what you're doing is like encouraging people to leave their babies all over the place and not care for their children or something, you know?
We would hope that a mom would never have to give her baby up for any reason whatsoever, and that the 265 babies that we have saved from abandonment,
265.
there would be zero.
Right.
Because every mom would keep their child.
Right.
We have 260 babies in Florida, 4 in other states, and 1 in the country of Honduras. And that baby was saved in Honduras through a family that we knew here, that knew the family in Honduras. The mother was 21 years old. She had a 15-month-old child, no prenatal care. They were destitute, and she was living with her mother. And her mother said, we can't take care of the three of us. We're not going to take care of another child.
Right.
So they were one step away from terminating their pregnancy. And so we stepped in and we helped, and the baby was born somewhat healthier, and then the baby was placed for adoption in Honduras and is now being adopted.
Yeah. You know, we find with, you know, clients that if they're in college and they're in an unplanned pregnancy, they don't get prenatal care. If they have family insurance, because they don't want to know, you know, they don't want to run it on, because usually they're on their parents' insurance. So there's this great, you know, disgrace upon them. So they hide the whole thing.
That's it.
You know, and so they get no prenatal care when they could even possibly get Medicaid, you know, if they knew that they can make that application too. So when a client comes to you, if she does need insurance, right, and she needs prenatal care, do you work them through the system with Medicaid and getting them insurance?
We do.
Yeah.
That's what we did with Cecile.
Right.
The mom that had the baby that called me that said her water just broke. Yeah, we did it with her.
Right.
And we do it every time we can.
Right.
Yeah. And that same thing, you know, it's like these people, it's hard to understand kind of their mind and what they're going through, you know, that brings you to this point. I guess this is some responsibility you have to take, but what's their circumstances, what is their situation? And so many don't know any connections, and all the resources that are available, and they're in like a panic and don't see any other way to do this. And it's hard to understand or even justify, but your mind is just so messed up and so disillusioned that you would do such a thing. And then to talk to somebody that says, we can make every connection for you. Like there's something for each one of these areas and these things. There's help for you. You're part of a community here of believing people, non-believing people. People just care about human life, care about you. Do you know how many people care for you and for your child? And it's like, no, I don't. How many volunteers do you have working with you?
Around the state, we have around 300.
300
Yeah, some are, you know, some are do it not full time, but do it really with a commitment. And then there's less, you know, others that do it less. We call them ambassadors. We don't call them volunteers.
What are they doing? Are they all doing the same thing?
No, they're let's say they're doing fundraising, they're helping us in the fundraising area. They're helping us with a walk. They're helping us distribute materials. They do presentations. We have a speakers bureau throughout the state. And all of that. So
when you can hire a speaker, someone you go into schools, or where else do you go? Do you go into churches? Do churches even know?
Yeah, church. Yeah. We go to churches. We go to youth centers and also the schools.
Yeah.
And other civic organizations.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, you should be in every state. Okay, so there may be safe haven laws in every state. You know, thank God. But there's not an organization promoting the safe haven laws and telling people that it's everywhere. I remember, you know, working as a minister in a former life as a Protestant minister, and even when I had a crisis pregnancy in our parish, and people needed help, I was saying, well, where do I go? Who do I turn to? What do I do? Where's my list? Or how do I do this? It's the same thing with this, and you might not hear from somebody that says, I'm thinking about abandoning, but if it's all over the place, if the church is aware, if it's posted someplace, are you pregnant, you're in a crisis, you need help, you're having these thoughts or whatever, this is all confidential, you don't have to come to the minister. You know, here's the place where you call this 1-800 number, do this, and getting it out there is critical, but there's not organizations doing that per se. Right?
It takes someone to do that on a full-time basis, an organization to do it full-time. We just created these things called tear-off sheets.
Yes.
It's in English and Spanish, and they're being placed at all the clinics in the state of Florida. Take us some time to do that, but they'll all get placed. We'll do them at the crisis pregnancy centers. We'll do them at the homeless shelters and so forth. And they can tear it off. Our number's on there, and they can call us when the time is appropriate.
We did the tear-off sheets, and you know where we put them, and we had great success? In laundromats.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Because a lot of moms are going to laundromats. Well, because what happens, Planned Parents go into laundromats. because they see girls doing the laundry, they're folding the clothes and they're pregnant, and if you don't want this baby, you can have an abortion. So we're like, wait a minute, if they're there, I'm going there. So we created the beautiful, and had our card, and they would tear off the card, and you just went to I went to laundromats within a 25-mile radius of our center, and they were effective.
That's something.
So you have to go where moms are.
Yeah, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
We do health fairs with the high schools.
Yes.
And there's one high school I've done it every year
Mm-hmm.
for the last 14 years. I'm the one that goes there every year, and we hand out materials and we talk to the kids about it. So this past year, well, this happened before, but this past year, I gave a piece of material out to a girl, and she said, well, "This wouldn't really affect me." And I said, probably not, but maybe somebody you know. And she said, "Yes,
Yeah.
let me have it."
Yes.
Yeah. Have we not heard about babies being abandoned in bathrooms in schools? Yes, I have.
Yes.
And young girls, if somehow they go into an eatery place, they come out and then they find a baby. And so it's so important to get to the young people, because they're going to hear. There's a girl that's in a panic that might confide in someone, never confide in an adult, but might confide in a young person, and which is a heavy burden for that young person. But if she heard somebody like you, or heard about a safe haven for newborns, or about a pregnancy medical center, she said, I don't know all about this, but there's help for you.
Yeah,
I can give you this
exactly.
confidential number and call.
Exactly. We do education also with the fire departments and the hospitals. We've created a web-based training where they can go on, also for the Department of Children and Families and law enforcement. They can go on our website and they can take a course. It's a 50-minute course, and they could get training credits, or hospital personnel can get a CEU. And that has been huge. Over 7,000 people have taken the course, since we've done that. We also have, we've also created an app for community service. And this is something innovative. Basically, any student, high school student or college-age student in the state of Florida can use this app, take Safe Haven or Safe Haven activity in wherever they live, and but they would focus only on 5 different applications. One is they could do a smartphone for us, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and we give them the talking points. Another one is they can join our speakers bureau and speak. We give them the talking points as well. Another one is they can create an article for us, and we'll post that on our newsletter. So they'll be able to do it statewide. And we're meeting with some of the major school systems right now. We've talked to them, and we're going to launch that in this coming fall.
Powerful. Want to hear more about that and plenty more about a safe haven for newborns. It's a safehavenfornewborns.com. This is for everybody throughout the country. You all can get on board with this, but especially there in the great state of Florida. Plenty more to come. We're speaking about building a new culture of life, one person, one young mom at a time, one young child at a time. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Important part of our family, and you can join us live right here on At Home, and you could be a member of our studio audience, and we would just love that. So all you need to do is contact the EWTN Pilgrimage Department, send them an email, pilgrimages@ewtn.com, give them a jingle at 205-271-2966. Come to Irondale, Alabama, put it on your bucket list. We'd love to have you. You could go to Hanceville and visit Mother Angelica's resting place. Well, right now we're going to go straight to Rome to hear from Joan. Joan, what do you have for us today?
Well, greetings from Rome to all of you at home, and from my home to your home. I think you all know, probably the whole world has been following the case of the 10-month-old baby, Charlie Gard. He's in a hospital in London, has been there since he was born, with a degenerative disease, and of course he has serious brain damage. Now his parents simply want to do one of two things: bring him home, have him in their care, or better yet, bring him to the U.S. for some experimental treatment, but the authorities have not granted the parents their wish. Even though Pope Francis has spoken out on this, this, he has sent a message, he tweeted out that the parents should be able to be with him until the end. President Trump has said whatever he had to do, he would do, and he has sent officials to London to talk to British officials about that. And then, you may not know, but Bambin Gesù Children's Pediatric Hospital here in Rome, it's probably a 10-minute walk from my house. That hospital has also offered to bring Charlie to Rome to have use of their facilities. They're renowned all over the world. It's often called the Pope's Hospital because it is administered by the Vatican. Now, the hospital president, Mariella Enoch, has said, I've asked the health director to check with the Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, where the newborn is recovered, to see if the sanitary conditions are available for an eventual transfer of Charlie to our hospital. We know the case is desperate and that until now there are no effective therapies. And the important thing is the family has gathered very close to $2 million from all around the world because they would need this kind of money maybe for a plane. They would need nurses. They would need oxygen. So that right now doesn't seem to be a problem, but it is the legal issues because the British Foreign Secretary has spoken with his counterpart here in Italy, and he said there are legal reasons for keeping Charlie in London, even though all the medical opinions have to be subject to the courts, but they're trying to do so in Charlie's best interest. Now, interestingly enough, the Prime Minister, Theresa May, said she was confident that Great Ormond Street Hospital have and always will consider any efforts or new information that has come forward with consideration of the well-being of a desperately ill child. And I have to say, you know, let's pray. Let's pray for a miracle. I believe in miracles. Let's pray to the Virgin Mary. There is someone who lost her son in a very cruel way. So, time's up here. Back to you at home.
Thank you so much, Joan. Thank you for that great advice to work and to pray. Well, Nick, let's share further in the few minutes we have left. What are the various initiatives of a safe haven for newborns that you're doing, that people can get involved with? How can people support this great work?
Well, we have a lot of initiatives, and they're on our website, so it would take too long to describe them today. So they go on our website and they email us. We'll get back in touch with them. We answer every single email that we receive. One of the things that they can do is to help support us, if we've touched their heart, to help to support us, our ministry. We have 2 events a year. We have a walk, and we call the walk Taking One Step at a Time, Saving a Life. And then we also have the Celebration of Life event that I talked about that Christopher attends. So that's how we raise money in addition to individuals and corporations. We ask that you may consider that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And we believe from the very, very beginning, if we saved only one life, all of our efforts would be worthwhile. We said that at the very beginning.
Right.
And that was 264 babies ago.
It's beautiful. And one of the things you were sharing in terms of support from people, of course, it's financial support and various gifts and talents and abilities. But you were talking about you really want to try and establish friendship. You know, the power of friendship, friends of your apostolate, of this ministry, this life-saving ministry. What does it mean to you to make a friend, somebody really being a friend of the ministry? What happens to them in their hearts, in their faith, psychologically, when they get it? Because I think that's what you're talking about when you say you want to make friends. Because if you get those friends, everything else comes.
Right. We touch their hearts. If we touch their heart, they become a friend. Okay. And we have events that we call friend raisers instead of fund raisers.
Okay.
And we invite people. We invite people that know very little about Safe Haven or just a little bit. And we also invite some of our longtime supporters. And we don't do a fundraising pitch. We get up and we talk about Safe Haven. We might show a short video, and then we'll ask one of our longtime supporters to get up and why are they supporting Safe Haven. And then we have a social rest of the evening. Then they get invited. We contact them later, and many of them stay with us. And so if you touch somebody's heart, then they'll touch their pocketbook.
And like you said, having Chris or Gloria Hope, come to speak, these little ones that were rescued from abandonment. And on the darker side, I mean, if I know where the dumpsters are where those babies were laid unto death. We could tell that story too. Like, why get involved? Because this really happens. If you want to see the dumpster, if you wanted to see the funeral of this baby, because we actually went and prayed over this place, and then see the living faces of others. That's why we like you to connect with us. And people are just kind of like, is this really happening? Yes, it is, and we want to do everything in our power to make sure it doesn't happen one more time.
We created the Garden of Innocence, and we have a cemetery plot. And that plot was for babies that were abandoned that did not survive.
Right.
We have 3 babies there. One baby was a stillborn baby. The church asked us to bury the child, and we did. Nothing to do with Safe Haven. The second baby was a baby that was 12 days old, died of a virus. Nothing to do with Safe Haven. The third baby was a baby that was left outside a fire department in a cold evening. This was about 7-8 years ago, and the baby did not survive. So we asked the medical examiner to if we could transport the baby and have a Christian burial, which we did. I went to the cemetery and I asked them, that's where Gloria is, and so they know me. And I said we would like to have an area there that we would call the Garden of Innocence. And they took me to an area that had 12 plots, but you couldn't put a headstone there. Then I said, I don't want to appear, not appreciative, but we need a headstone. So they took us to a place for 18 plots. So we have a headstone there now.
Beautiful.
And we have 3 babies.
Nick, thank you so much for saying yes to God. We thank God for your wife, Gloria, who I believe is interceding for you. It's a great work. We have to go at this point. We want everybody to go to a safehavenfornewborns.com, and we enlist your service on behalf of life. God bless you. Bye now.